July 20th, 1969. The world stopped. Families huddled around grainy black and white television sets. In New York, in London, in Tokyo, everyone was watching the same thing. A blurry figure descending a ladder onto a gray, desolate landscape. Neil Armstrong spoke those famous words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." It was the proudest moment in human history. We had left our cradle. We had touched the stars. But what if we didn't? What if that grainy footage wasn't broadcast from 240,000 miles away? What if it was broadcast from a secret studio in the Nevada desert? What if the giant leap was actually a giant lie? Welcome back to the Truth Files. I am your host. Today, we are opening a file that has been marked confidential by conspiracy theorists for over 50 years. Think about it. The year was 1969. Computing power was less than what you have in a musical greeting card today. Yet we are told that America sent 3 men 240,000 miles away and landed them on a moving rock and brought them back safely. But look closer at the photos. Why is the American flag waving in a vacuum where there is no wind? Why are the shadows falling in different directions as if lit by studio lights? And the most chilling question of all, in every single photo taken from the moon, where are the stars? Did NASA pull off the impossible? Or was this just a Hollywood production designed to win the Cold War against the Soviet Union? Today, we look at the evidence, we look at the physics, and we decide, did we really go, or did we just watch a movie? Let's dig in. To understand the crime, first we must understand the motive. Why would the United States fake something so massive? The answer lies in one word: fear. The year was 1969. The Cold War is at its peak. This wasn't just a political battle. It was a battle for survival between the USA and the Soviet Union. And here is a fact history books often glaze over. America was losing badly. The Soviets were the first to launch a satellite, Sputnik. The Soviets were the first to send a dog into space. The Soviets were the first to send a human, Yuri Gagarin, into space. They were winning the space race. America was embarrassed. President John F. Kennedy had promised the world they would put a man on the moon by the end of the decade. But as 1969 approached, time was running out. The technology was difficult. The rockets were exploding. If you are a conspiracy theorist, this is your smoking gun. The motive: America could not afford to lose. So if you can't make it, you fake it, or so the theory goes. Let's move from the why to the how. The biggest arguments against the moon landing come from the photos themselves. There are thousands of photos from the Apollo missions, but skeptics point to a few specific details that they claim prove fraud. Let's start with Exhibit A, the waving flag. Picture the scene. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin plant the American flag into the lunar soil. In the video footage and the photos, the flag appears to be rippling. It's fluttering, as if a gentle breeze is blowing through it. But wait, space is a vacuum. There is no air on the moon. No air means no wind. No wind means the flag should be hanging completely still, limp and lifeless. So what moved the flag? Was it the air conditioning in a studio fan? This argument sounds logical, but let's look at the science. When NASA designed the flag, they knew there was no wind. They didn't want the flag to just hang down like a wet towel. Nobody would see the stars and stripes. So they designed a special L-shaped rod. One pole went up, and a horizontal bar went across the top to hold the flag open. But here's the catch. Buzz Aldrin admitted that they had trouble extending that horizontal rod fully. The flag remained bunched up, creating a ripple effect permanently in the fabric. And the movement, the fluttering, that is physics, Newton's first law. On Earth, if you shake a flag, air resistance stops it quickly. On the Moon, there is no air resistance, so when the astronauts twisted the pole to dig it into the ground, the vibration traveled through the metal and shook the flag. Without air to stop it, the flag kept wiggling. It wasn't wind, it was inertia. Let's move to Exhibit B, the case of the missing stars. Look at any photo from the moon landing. The sky is pitch black, ink black. Now think about it. The moon has no atmosphere to block the view. The stars should be blindingly bright. They should be everywhere. Yet in the photos, 0 stars, just black emptiness. Conspiracy theorists say this is because NASA couldn't fake the constellations correctly. If they put the stars in the wrong place, astronomers would spot the fake immediately. So they just decided to leave them out. It's a chilling thought, but is it true? Let's ask any photographer listening right now. The surface of the moon is covered in gray dust that reflects sunlight. It is essentially broad daylight on the moon. The sun is shining brightly. The lander is white and gold. The astronauts are wearing bright white suits. Everything is glowing. If you take a camera and set the exposure to capture a bright white astronaut in direct sunlight, the shutter speed has to be fast, very fast. Stars, on the other hand, are faint. You cannot capture a bright foreground and faint distant stars in the same shot. It's the same reason why, if you take a photo of a football match at night, you see the players, but the sky behind the stadium looks black. The stars are there, but the camera isn't seeing them. So the missing stars aren't a mistake. They are exactly what a camera does in bright sunlight. We are deep into the investigation now. We've covered the flag and the stars, but there is one visual clue that is much harder to explain: the shadows. On the moon, there is only one light source, the sun. If there is only one light source, all shadows should run parallel to each other. They should never intersect. But look at the famous photos. The shadow of the lunar lander goes one way. The shadow of a rock goes another way. The shadow of the astronaut goes a third way. They intersect. This suggests there was more than one light source, like studio spotlights in a film set. This convinced a lot of people, even experts. But again, we have to look at the terrain. The moon isn't a flat parking lot. It is bumpy, hilly, and uneven. If you stand on a hill and I stand in a valley, our shadows will look like they're going in different directions because the ground beneath them is slanted. This is a simple perspective trick. You can recreate this in your backyard on a sunny day if the ground is uneven. And what about the lighting on Buzz Aldrin? There is a famous photo where Aldrin is descending the ladder into the shadow of the spaceship. He should be in total darkness, yet we can see him clearly. He is illuminated. Skeptics say, aha, someone is holding a reflector or a spotlight. But they forget the biggest reflector of all, the moon itself. The lunar surface reflects light. The Earth hanging in the sky reflects light. And the massive gold foil on the spaceship reflects light. Aldrin was lit up by the reflection from the ground he was standing on. Let's leave the photos and talk about the machinery. This is where the engineering experts weigh in. We have to talk about the blast crater. The lunar module, known as the Eagle, weighed tons. It had a massive rocket engine that fired to slow it down for landing. This engine was blasting thousands of pounds of thrust toward the ground. Yet in the photos, underneath the spaceship, the ground is pristine. No hole, no dust on the landing pads. How is that possible? Even a leaf blower creates a hole in the dirt. A rocket should have blasted a massive crater. This one stumped me for a while, until I looked at the physics of a vacuum. On Earth, when a rocket blasts, it pushes the air, and the air pushes the dirt. It's a turbulent cloud. On the Moon, there is no air. The exhaust gas from the rocket expands instantly into the vacuum. It doesn't focus into a tight beam like it does on Earth. Also, the computer shut off the engines before they touched the ground to prevent an explosion. They drifted the last few feet. The lack of a crater isn't proof of a fake. It's proof of how physics works differently in space. And then there's the camera issue. The cameras used were Hasselblad 500 ELs. They are boxy manual cameras. The astronauts were wearing pressurized suits. Their gloves were thick, like wearing 2 pairs of winter mittens blown up like balloons. Try threading a needle wearing boxing gloves. That is what operating a camera was like. Skeptics argue, how did they take such perfectly framed, focused photos with those clumsy gloves? The answer? Practice and modification. The cameras were modified with giant buttons and levers specifically for those gloves. And the astronauts didn't look through a viewfinder. The cameras were mounted on their chests. They practiced on Earth for months, learning to aim their body to frame the shot. And here's a secret NASA doesn't highlight. They took thousands of bad photos, blurry photos, photos of the ground. We only see the perfect ones because those are the ones magazines published. We have looked at the science, but let's step back and look at the people. This, in my opinion, is the strongest argument against the conspiracy. The Apollo program wasn't just 3 guys in a rocket. It involved 400,000 people. Engineers, scientists, seamstresses who made the suits, guys who fueled the rockets, mission control operators, doctors, 400,000 people. For the hoax theory to work, NASA would have tricked all of them, or all of them are in on the secret. Human beings are terrible at keeping secrets. We leak information. We gossip. We confess on our deathbeds. It has been over 50 years. Not a single person, not one, has ever produced a script, a memo, or piece of equipment from a movie set proving it was fake. The Soviets were watching closely. They had radars pointed at the moon. If the signal had come from Nevada, Russia would have exposed the lie immediately to humiliate America. But they didn't. They congratulated the U.S. because they knew the signal came from the moon. In 2002, a conspiracy theorist named Bart Sibrel confronted Buzz Aldrin. He called him a coward and a liar to his face, demanding he swear on the Bible that he walked on the moon. 72-year-old Buzz Aldrin didn't debate him. He punched him in the face. That wasn't the reaction of a man hiding a lie. That was the reaction of a man who risked his life for history and was tired of being called a fake. So where does that leave us? The flag waved because of inertia. The stars were hidden by exposure settings. The shadows were distorted by uneven ground, and the secret was too big to keep. It is healthy to question authority. It is good to be skeptical. But skepticism without evidence is just cynicism. The evidence points to one conclusion. We built a metal can, we strapped it to the biggest bomb ever built, the Saturn V rocket, and we shot 3 brave men into the void. They went, they landed, and they came back. Perhaps the reason people still believe it's a hoax is because the reality is too magical to believe. It seems impossible that humans with 1960s technology could leave our home planet. But we did. Thank you for listening to The Truth Files. I am your host. Keep looking up.